Hi, I'm not Marty Schwartz. I'm Glenn Byford from Desperately Seeking Susan Boyle, and welcome to my first video music review. Guess you could call this one the pilot, maybe. In this video I'm going to be reviewing Justin Timberlake's new album, The 2020 Experience, Part 2. And I guess maybe I should learn from my contemporaries a little bit. I should make the background a bit more interesting, maybe stand in front of my record collection, or put up some cool posters. And I guess for the purpose of the review I should leave the album artwork up here somewhere. OMG, Justin Timberlake's got a new album out. But hasn't he already had a new album out this year? Oh yeah. Yes, Justin Timberlake released The 2020 Experience Part 1. Around the time of the album release, it was revealed that The 2020 Experience was going to be a two-part album. Obviously 10 tracks on the first album, 10 tracks coming later in the year. Was it worth the wait? No. The album starts with a pretty good beat. The album starts with a pretty convincing beat for Give Me What I Don't Know I Want. But again, just like the first part of the album, Justin Timberlake kind of throws it away with his metaphors and the lyrics. He's just not trying hard enough. What does he want you to do? Take me to your jungle. Open your cage. Now I think the first part of the album really suffered through the lyrical content. Timberland's beats were pretty amazing stuff, as you'd expect. The whole concept of the album, the fact that each track was kind of drawn out over 6 minutes, kind of doubling up what a normal 3-minute pop song would be, gave each beat its chance to kind of breathe a little bit, the rhythm to come through, ease it out. It was just like in a live gig when they'd kind of let the rest of the band play, just jam a little bit. Not so much for this album. Now track 2, True Blood, still doesn't really do the album any favours. It's a big, cluttered Timberland production that there's just too much going on. He likes to throw everything into his beats, but sometimes you gotta hold back a little bit. It's fine, we've got vampire metaphors, but when the track actually kind of breathes and mutates again, it kind of works into kind of like a real funky disco sound, and then as it progresses even further it starts to channel Michael Jackson's Thriller with its ghoulish cackling and monster metaphors. And we have Drake cropping up on Cabaret, but it doesn't really work for me. And maybe if this album was its own standalone piece, on its own merits it might work, but in comparison to the 2020 Experience Part 1, this so far just sounds like studio outtakes. Now with TKO, it feels like we're starting to get back towards pop territory. This is the kind of music that he should be making. But it just doesn't feel like we're breaking any new ground with this album. In fact, I think it dilutes the original unique concept of making retooled future funk and electro pop being played out over extended breakdowns. The album was challenging the idea of 3-minute pop numbers and bite-sized pop nuggets that exist in this dissectable world of downloadable tracks and albums. This was something to be consumed as a whole. These were extended songs, these were breakdowns, these were babbling on a bit too much. By now you've already heard Take Back the Night. It was the lead single, and why wouldn't it be? It's easily accessible, it's Justin Timberlake doing what he does best, which is Justin Timberlake wishing he was Michael Jackson. Now Timberland's funk-fueled groove on this, it's pretty much lifted straight from Quincy Jones archives from the 80s. And that's not a bad thing. This is followed with Murder featuring Jay-Z, and now the album's showing a stronger sense of direction. We've got less cluttered beats. It's getting back to Justin the way we like him. This track again, along with TKO, Take Back the Night, it stands out. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this one as a single. It's got a much fresher sound. So we've had some filler with the first 3 tracks. We've had the killer with TKO, Take Back the Night, and Murder. But as the album progresses, it's clear that it's already hit its peak, and everything is downhill from there. You've had funk, disco, soul, pop, R&B. Now Justin wants to go a little bit country, and it's slightly yawnsome. We have some down south country tin sentiment from JT, how he's drinking to try and forget a girl. He's tried Jack, he's tried Jim, he's tried all of his friends. All of this is underpinned with Timberlake's forceful drum beat, but to be honest, if they'd stripped it back a little bit, made it feel a little bit more heartfelt, I think the track would have benefited. And from here on in, everything else is just incredibly boring, plays it incredibly safe, or it's just over long and drawn out. Now I know that I said there were 2 albums consisting of 10 tracks. Not quite the case for part 2, although I think we could have been better off without the extras chucked on at the end. We have a track called Not a Bad Thing, which isn't a good thing. And I think it's safe to say that the world really could have done without hearing Pair of Wings. Now, I wasn't always completely convinced by the 2020 Experience Part 1. But I did enjoy it and I admired what it tried to do. The 2020 Experience Part 1 felt like it was trying to push the boundaries of what a modern pop album could be, even if it wasn't always successful. Whereas the 2020 Experience Part 2, it just feels like an afterthought or a collection of leftovers that either tries too hard or in most cases just doesn't try hard enough. I'm sorry, JT.